Hello, I'm Carl Chinn, President of the Faith-Based Security Network. One of the most valuable resources of the FBSN is that collective acumen of the members. Now, there can be no collective acumen without individual expertise and experience, but that is often isolated. We are sharing some of those individual member stories behind our collaboration of expertise. Today, we will interview Jim Shoemaker from Florida. So I want other people to get to know you a little bit today. And let's start with your career. What did you do as a young man? What did you do for most of your life? And just give us kind of an overview of that.
Uh, I, I would say my life started when I joined the Marine Corps. But before that, I had I lived in a very rural area. We couldn't see our neighbor's house at all. We didn't grow up around other kids. It was all adults. And I remember my brother and I sitting on the bank every day. We knew when the milkman went past. And every day he would throw two sticks of chewing gum up to us. And we just wondered what other people were thinking as, what were they doing? And we knew what we were doing. But anyway, when we got old enough to uh, lift the hay bales and straw bales, then we started working for the farmers. And my brother and I have been working ever since. And in fact, my brother didn't even go to his graduation. He joined the Marine Corps and went right away. But I did graduate. Uh, and then went to the Marines shortly after. But I would say I was the blessed person in in the Marine Corps because volunteered to go to Vietnam. My grandmother and my mother prayed me through that. I came home on leave, told them I was going to go back for another tour, and just about broke mom's heart. But her and mom started praying again. But in Vietnam, I was on Monkey Mountain. It was about 7 miles north of Da Nang. It was just the perfect place in all of Vietnam. It it was. I could look down on Da Nang. I could see everything out in Indian country, the New Jersey part there. But after Vietnam, then the second time I knew that. First time I went to fight communism. Second time, things just weren't going very good. And people were smoking dope. The Marine Corps had started recruiting people, and they were at the peace talks, and nobody wanted to do their job. So I got out of the Marine Corps I think on a Friday. On Saturday, I stopped in at a restaurant, and the guy offered me a job. And I was a plumber for a while, and then I went to work for Pennsylvania Power and Light Company, became a welder, eventually a certified welding inspector, and I taught welders how to do high pressure pipe welding in the supercritical units in the nuclear plant.
Hmm.
And then I retired in 2012, moved down to Florida, and started going to a much bigger church, and saw that we needed security.
Yeah, interesting. Well, that's fascinating. What year did you join the Marines?
In 1966,
66.
I stayed in country the entire. Marines were there 13 months, and the Army was there 12. So I actually stayed longer than 13 months and volunteered to go back. And then I come home and had 30
That's
days
when
free
they had
leave. They would have sent me anywhere in the free world, but I came home. Was only a short time home, a couple of days, and I started working where I used to work before I went in the Marines. But and then I went back for another 6 months. But I never
that's when
went
they
on R&R.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate your service there so very much, Jim. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But tell us about things related to your faith base. Let's have a quick overview of who Jim is, and if we were to ask the Lord today.
Uh, I was saved in 1973, but I had no idea what that was about. I thought, okay, now I'm saved, I'm going to go to heaven, and now I got to start doing all this stuff. Trouble was, I was trying to do it on my own. Well, then I learned that no, you don't need to do it on your own. That God and Jesus will do it for you. Well, that didn't work either. It's me working with them that I finally understood, and I've been trying to work with the Lord ever since.
Yeah. And when did that start tying into security? What year did that
I moved to
combination?
Florida. I moved to Florida in 2012, and I worked at nuclear plants for a little while afterwards as a consultant. But I'm not sure when it was. I think it was in 2015. A retired police chief. Our pastor had a church up in the north somewhere, and it had real good security as far as the construction of the church. He moved down here and took over this church, and he knew we were in trouble because we had 18 exterior doors, and they were all unlocked. So he talked to a retired police chief, wanted to start security, and I didn't know at the time, but the police chief was a snowbird. And the first year, he could not get the church board, to buy into this at all. So he came back at again. There was a lot more church safety events, and he tried to start it again, and he got me involved. And but then I still didn't know he was a snowbird. And all of a sudden in the spring, he leaves, and I'm doing this by myself. But it was a hard time trying to get the board on to go along with what we were trying to do.
Well, we're going to get into the weeds on all that stuff here in a little bit, and but let's move on to your family. Tell the folks a little about your family.
Well, my wife is Sherry. We've been married since 2012. I have 3 kids by a previous marriage. My oldest one is a daughter. She lives in South Carolina. She's a registered trauma nurse. My second one is Jim. He lives in Columbus, Georgia. He still works at Fort Benning. He's in charge of all the morale welfare, MWR, morale, whatever that stands for.
Welfare
I forget.
and recreation.
Yeah, and then my youngest son lives in Pennsylvania. He's a project manager. Right now he's working on 2 projects. One in New York State, putting an addition on a college, and his other one that he's really proud of. He's working with Tim Tebow on a project in the Poconos, building a big retreat for disadvantaged kids.
Nice.
And then I have 2 grandkids. One of them is Pennsylvania. She's just getting married in the fall, and the other one lives in Colorado, and he has 2 kids. So I have 2 great grandkids too.
Nice.
And he's married to a police officer, by the way.
Okay. You know from our prior conversations that I have so much respect for veterans, especially those who served in combat times and combat eras, as you well did, not only in the era you were in the country. And you came from a long heritage of service, and many of your world views must have been shaped by that. And, first of all, I wonder how has that heritage shaped you into what you are today?
My military family goes back to the Revolutionary War. Dad was in the Pacific. He was going to stop Germany. all of a sudden Vietnam came about and I needed to stop communism. At least that's what I thought when I went over there. But
Yeah.
our whole town was military. Everybody, all the teenagers went into service for World War II.
And your brother, you said, didn't even graduate. He just signed up before graduation, I'm assuming. Was he
Well,
older or younger?
that was my younger brother. He once I went into the Marines, that's where he was going to go, and he graduated, but he never went to his graduation.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
Yeah, he went to boot camp before his graduation.
Okay. Do you stay in touch with him?
Yes, he lives in Winter Haven, right here in Florida.
Well, you grew up hunting a lot and being outdoors, and
everything
that
was
was an
about
important part of your life.
Hunting and shooting. Dad taught us to shoot when we were probably 6 or 8 years old. We even used to shoot inside the house with a 22 because Dad didn't like the cold. And my mom worked nights. She never knew this, but he laminated a block of wood, and we'd lay down in the living room and shoot through the dining room into the kitchen. It was a big farmhouse. And after a while, we didn't need targets. He'd just put thumbtacks on the wood, and we'd just shoot at the thumbtack heads. Mom didn't know about that for years. And then when we got old enough, Dad had a 30-06, so him and the neighbors started reloading, and they reloaded shells for us with less powder in, so it wouldn't kick so bad. And so we learned to shoot a real rifle with 30-06. And then everything was hunting. I mean, buck season started on a Monday, and we had our clothes laid out at least a week ahead. I mean, everything. The knives were sharpened multiple times. We were ready to go. And it was just a big anticipation. We went to town to sit in a restaurant and watch the guys from southern Pennsylvania go north to hunt, just to listen to them talk in the restaurant and stuff.
Yeah.
But, everything was about hunting.
I can so relate to that. Tell me, how did hunting and being outdoors and the Marine Corps, was any of that applicable to what you've done in more recent years in church security?
Oh, absolutely. Cover and concealment. I mean, you were trying to not let the deer see you. Trying to look for anything a little bit out of order. Maybe it was just an ear of a deer, or maybe just one antler you could see through the brush. We learned how to tree, which Rogers Rangers taught, and I think the Army still teaches. You take 2 steps forward, and you always stop so that you're. Well, for me, I'm left-handed, so my right leg was forward, so you're ready to brace yourself for a shot, and you quietly move from tree to tree, so you could also rest against a tree. But observation and be quiet. Learn how to be quiet.
And every movement is intentional and planned.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I had the opportunity of reading Dave Grossman's book on hunting when it was in manuscript format, and was able to provide a little bit of insight for him on how hunting relates to security. It's a fascinating book, and I would encourage anybody to get that book on hunting. But it was kind of based on the whole military program. There's an entire military program where they bring in professional hunters to train certain divisions of the military on hunting techniques as it relates to military service.
Absolutely.
Well, getting back to your your church and your security program, uh, when the senior pastor originally asked that police chief to start the program, uh, what was some of, if not only one, maybe more, what was the toughest hurdle you faced in getting that security program off the ground, and how long did it take? Let me ask that. From the time the pastor first asked the police chief till the time you feel like you really had a program operating. Let's start with that question. What was the time frame?
It took a good year just to get some volunteers. And I was blessed in that the pastor was behind it 100%. It was just the church board that was not behind it. They didn't want to be a military type organization at their church. To them, it just looked like uh, foreign talk. But so the police chief and I started buying radios. We ended up with a total of 16 or 18 radios. And then he died. And I didn't have anybody to rely on then.
The
But
police chief?
the
The
police chief
Snowbird
died of
police chief?
cancer. Yes, he died of cancer. Gary Durham was his name. His email was Chief Lawman. I always loved that. And then lo and behold, Carl Chinn came to Venice and Jimmy Meeks. And I had two
Yeah.
people that went with me. And Jimmy kind of scared them the way he talked.
After you got the security program up and going, what has been the toughest thing or things you have faced in the ongoing management of the security program there at your facility?
Learning that you were dealing with volunteers, for one thing. They weren't employees. You couldn't make them do something. And you certainly didn't want to make them mad, or you'd have even less. But just a whole lot of things like that. Well, then I found out that we couldn't legally carry guns. So that was a problem because we had a preschool. The only way anybody could legally carry a pistol at the church was to be armed security working for the church. So I started going to all the classes to get my unarmed security license and my armed security license. And I got that. Well, then the board really balked when they found out it had to be in uniform, external carry, uh, identified as security. Uh, but I got around that. I said, look, if you let me work for the church, I'll work for $2,000 a year salary, and I'll donate it all back to the church after taxes are paid. And so luckily the pastor pushed that through. And
Okay.
but then that really scared him because here I am in uniform outside the church. But the older people and the parents with kids just loved it. Uh, they couldn't praise us enough for what we were doing. We were going around knocking or trying doors. We finally got them to lock some doors. I had one door that was a particular problem going into where the older people were. They didn't want to lock it because it was so handy for them to come in and out of that door, but they couldn't see through the door. Anybody could walk in. So finally, I opened the door. I always opened the door and then locked it from the inside and left. But finally, one day I opened the door, pointed my finger at him, says, "Bang, bang, you're all dead," and locked it and left. After that, I didn't have any problem.
uh,
The church wanted
they,
me to have one person to be on the security because he was a prominent doctor and his daughter went to the preschool. That's the only reason. Talked to me one day. He says, I would never kill somebody, but he was thinking about carrying a 22 and putting birdshot on it. And I said, if you do that, you're just going to make the bad guy mad, and he's really definitely going to start shooting that.
Yeah. And if you've ever done pattern shooting with 22 birdshot, you know that you got to be about 5 feet or closer to have any kind of a pattern. That's funny. Yeah. Well, I understand, and there were some challenges that you faced since you had school on campus, wasn't there?
Oh yes, absolutely. That was all based on Florida law. We didn't want to scare people away that were carrying guns, so we ended up. I had stickers made to put on all the exterior doors that basically said, per Florida statute, whatever, this church property is deemed school property. And I hoped that people would understand what that meant, but I knew that they wouldn't. And I was hoping people would actually ask me what that was all about. Because I didn't want to tell the bad guys that we didn't have guns in church. And
right.
And then because of that, I had the security guys sign a paper saying they would not carry a gun while on duty on security. That was to protect the church. And one guy, he wouldn't do that, and he left the church. Then I also told them that we were going to start background checks because they were around the kids too. And one guy decided, well, he didn't need that background check. He didn't think he'd be on security anymore. So it was just a big learning experience, the whole thing.
Boy, but you said, thank you for saving us the money.
Yeah.
Because you'd probably discovered something.
And absolutely. Yeah.
Tell us one or two things you learned the hard way. Something that might even be borderline humorous now that you look back on it.
When I had to be armed security, I had to have an ID card. I had to have a job description, and I also had to have insurance. And that cost the church $1,600 just for my insurance as an armed security person. So I mean, it was just almost seemed like you were pushing a rope. And if you've ever tried that, it just doesn't work, But we kept plugging, and every once in a while, I get a real good guy. Being an introvert helps too.
How's that?
Well, you're not. Some guys just like to visit, and I mean, I had one guy in the foyer. I was watching one day, and he just had to talk to everybody. And 6 different people entered a church that he never saw because he wasn't even facing the right direction. Somebody dropped a backpack off on a church pew and then left the church. And he told me in time I could see this guy walking through a field toward Venice. I had never talked to a pastor about what do we do in a situation like that, and we didn't have a policy. So I went in, I picked up the backpack, and I carried it out in the middle of the field. And when I came back, here he was just a person that wanted to get free food on Sunday night. And this was a Sunday evening service. And he brought the backpack to put his food in. And while he was waiting, he walked to town to buy some cigarettes. But just like that. Other time, you learn what policies you need. 2 homeless guys brought a pit bull into the church and turned it loose. And luckily it didn't bite anybody, but it could have. Another kid got a parrot for Christmas, and he turned it loose in the church. I mean, you need a policy for everything.
Yeah, right. Some of those things you laugh at because you can't, otherwise you'd cry.
Yeah. Open doors was a big problem. Doors not locking. You could have a door that would lock this Sunday, and next Sunday it wouldn't because of the
Yep.
air pressure in the building. Doors was
Yep.
a major problem.
They always are. It's continuing maintenance the issue, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know,
And
Jim,
good door.
we've been talking recently at the FBSN, some of us have, about our service as it relates to our age and changing things with our age. And you recently told me that you have stopped carrying a firearm.
That's
And
correct.
why is that?
I have a lot of arthritis problems, and I kept going down in size of my pistols because it was just really hard to carry them anymore. It hurt. I got rid of all my guns. I don't
Is
even
that
own one.
ah ah wow? What would you tell others about facing that type of decision someday in their own life?
There's always something you can do. Do the best you can with what you have. And if what you have is not safe, don't do it. Do something else. I'm still on the security team. There's only two of us left. Uh, we Everybody has moved on or died, but I watch the cameras every other week, and the week that I'm not watching cameras, I'm in the sanctuary. I still wear a radio, and I can still intercede if somebody heads toward the choir or the pastor. But and plus, then on Wednesday night and Sunday night for choir practice, I'm always there, and you can always do something.
Yeah, man, what a good word, Jim. That's so true. You can always do something. And, I got to tell you, if I was in your church and I knew you and I knew what you have done through the years and how serious you take your position, I would feel safe in your church because I know you're very intentional about everything you do. And that's even being intentional about not carrying a firearm when you felt like you couldn't do so safely anymore. And I just, I really commend you for that decision process. That's going to be a hard one for many of us, but we're all going to
One
have
of
to face
the
it someday.
one of the other team members was a retired police chief. They had just moved away, but he was getting feeble too, and I think he still owns pistols, but he doesn't carry in church at all anymore either.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah,
if you're going to carry a pistol, you better know what you're doing, and you don't just go to the range once every 6 months and shoot. You got to be intentional.
absolutely, absolutely. What a good word. Well, Jim, with this video, you're going to have the ability to speak to hundreds, if not multiple hundreds, if not thousands of people through the years because we're going to save this and share it with others. What's one thing you would want to tell people about serving in security?
When you came to Florida, to Venice, Jimmy Meeks talked an awful lot about the video Faith Under Fire. And I would highly recommend everybody watch that video. You can still see it on YouTube. Uh, if that doesn't get your attention, I don't know what will. But the Sheepdog Coffee Time is something that's really special to me. Just the Marine Corps, you were part of a team. And the Sheepdog Coffee Time, that's what I feel that is. You're part of that team that's protecting other churches. And you're learning from each other and helping each other. Resources. are a major help too. Carl's Think About article, I look forward to that every week, especially when he talks about the farm. There's always something to learn from a farm. James Mott's safety and security newsletter. If that don't keep you going, I don't know what will. It's just they're just
Jim, it's been an honor to have you on here today, and I couldn't think of a better person. Shanna originally mentioned to me that we should start with you, and that just seemed so right. Uh, and I appreciate you speaking to our members today. And hopefully, you folks will get something out of this that will be a good lesson in time. Feel free to share it with your team. These are the words of a seasoned man in the realm of protecting others and protecting those he loves. Started in 1966. He's protected people ever since, and that in these recent years has been in the form of protecting people at his church. Thank you again, Jim. God bless you and Sherry. You're a wonderful couple, and look forward to seeing you both soon.